Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're diving headfirst into the world of AI agents in the B2B market.
A hot topic, no doubt.
It is. Even Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, is talking about this stuff.
Absolutely, he's all over it.
And we've got some fascinating sources here that point to two very different approaches to implementing these AI agents in a business.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating contrast. On the one hand, you've got Microsoft and their approach with this Copilot ecosystem.
Right.
It's all about speed and convenience for these big companies.
So it sounds like they're targeting the big players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The ones that are already using systems like SAP and Salesforce, all these big enterprise level, systems.
Well, so they're already kind of in that Microsoft world in a way.
Exactly. They've got these pre-built connectors that just slot right into Microsoft's cloud infrastructure. So it's a pretty smooth transition for them.
Yeah, but then on the other, our sources also highlight this company, BotBlitz Technologies. They're down in Brazil and they're doing something totally different. And they're tackling this problem that's actually pretty common, I think, around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Which is how to bring the power of AI agents to businesses that are, kind of stuck with these legacy systems.
Yeah, and that's a really significant hurdle for a lot of companies because you're talking about older software often lacking APIs.
Right.
Which are kind of like the modern day plugs and sockets that let different systems talk to each other easily.
Right.
And according to Deloitte's 2023 CFO survey, a large number of businesses in Brazil and probably in many other countries are still relying on things like Excel.
Really?
Or their own, kind of custom built systems.
Oh, so they've just built them in-house over the years.
Exactly, for a lot of their core operations.
So they're missing out on a huge opportunity, right? Because if we believe what Gartner is saying, like 90% of financial operations in businesses could potentially be automated.
Huge. Yeah, and that's where BotBlitz's approach gets really interesting because they figured out how to combine something called RPA.
RPA.
Yeah, which stands for Robotic Process Automation, with privately hosted LLMs.
Yes. Okay.
Large language models.
Okay, so break that down for me a little bit. What is RPA exactly?
So imagine you've got a software robot that can interact with those older legacy systems, almost like a bot playing a video game, navigating menus.
I like that analogy.
Clicking buttons, extracting data, all without needing those modern APIs.
Huh. Interesting.
It's like teaching a robot to speak the language of those old systems.
So it's bridging the gap between these outdated systems and this new world of AI.
Exactly.
I got it. Okay, that makes sense. What about the private LLM, though?
Yeah.
Why not just use one of those publicly available ones? Like, why go through the trouble of hosting it themselves?
That's actually a key distinction in BotBlitz's approach.
Okay.
Because by hosting the LLM themselves, companies maintain complete control over their data.
Oh, that makes sense.
And this is absolutely critical for sensitive industries like finance or healthcare.
Sure.
And it also addresses these growing data privacy concerns.
Uh-huh.
Like Brazil, for example, has its own data protection law, the LGPD.
Right.
And many other countries have similar regulations.
Yeah, it's a growing trend around the world.
It is. And companies are, increasingly wary of sending their data to these third-party cloud providers.
Especially when you've got legal complications and, international regulations. All these things can get so messy.
Yeah, absolutely. It can become a real legal nightmare.
So it's not just about automation. It's also about control and security.
Exactly.
This is starting to sound like a pretty compelling alternative for companies that are, maybe a little hesitant to jump fully into the public cloud for whatever reason.
It is. And what's really interesting is how BotBlitz layers these technologies together.
Okay.
So they've got three levels.
Oh.
First, you've got this unattended RPA, which is for automating simple repetitive tasks.
Got it.
Then you've got attended RPA, which is for managing multiple bots and adding in more complex business logic. And then finally, this is where the real magic happens. All that data that's been collected by the RPA that gets fed into the private LLM.
Okay.
And that allows it to really analyze information and even make decisions.
So we're not just speeding up tasks. We're talking about automating decisions.
Exactly.
Wow. Could you give us an example of how that might actually work in practice?
Absolutely. Imagine a company that needs to process invoices, right? With this system, an AI agent could not only extract the data from the invoice, but also cross-reference it with purchase orders, flag any discrepancies, and even initiate the payment process.
And it's all happening automatically.
And because it's learning from your specific business data, it can get better and better over time.
That's a big step forward from just having a robot fill out spreadsheets.
It is.
But I'm curious about setting up a private LLM, though. Wouldn't that be way more expensive and complex than just using something off the shelf?
It's true that setting up a private LLM requires a significant upfront investment. But it's about weighing those initial costs against the long-term benefits.
Right.
Because you get complete control over your data, which, as we've discussed, is becoming increasingly crucial for companies.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also get the ability to customize the LLM to your specific needs, making it much more effective than a generic solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then as your company grows, you can scale the system alongside it.
Right, so it grows with you.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a strategic investment, not just a quick fix.
Yeah.
And it seems particularly well suited to this Brazilian market with all these legacy systems and data privacy concerns that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
But is this something that could work for other markets too? Or is it just a uniquely Brazilian solution?
That's a great question, and one that we'll dive into next.
Yeah.
The challenges that BotBlitz is tackling in Brazil are actually pretty common in businesses around the world. So the potential for this type of approach goes way beyond just one country.
So we were just talking about how BotBlitz is addressing this issue of legacy systems in Brazil.
Right.
And you raised a really interesting point. Could this be a solution for other markets that are facing kind of similar challenges?
I think it's definitely worth considering. I mean, think about it. How many businesses around the world, especially those that have been around for a while, are still relying on these outdated systems?
Yeah, probably a lot more than we realize.
Oh, I think so.
It's easy to assume that, everyone is operating with the latest cutting-edge technology.
Right.
But the reality is often quite different.
Yeah, and completely overhauling those systems can be incredibly disruptive and expensive.
Yeah.
Not to mention risky.
Absolutely.
So that's where this BotBlitz model becomes so intriguing.
Oh, okay.
It offers a way to bridge that gap between those legacy systems and this new world of AI without needing to rip and replace everything.
Right. So instead of a complete demolition and rebuild, it's more like a renovation.
That's a great way to put it.
You're adding on a new layer of intelligence without disrupting that, the foundation.
Exactly. And this approach really resonates with several global trends that we're seeing.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
For example, data security and compliance are top priorities for companies everywhere, not just in Brazil.
Oh, absolutely.
With data breaches becoming increasingly common and data privacy regulations, getting stricter, companies are understandably reluctant to just hand over their sensitive data to these third-party cloud providers.
Especially when those providers might be subject to different legal jurisdictions and data access requests. It can be a real legal minefield.
Exactly. So the idea of keeping your data in-house under your control becomes very appealing.
Right. It's yours.
Yeah, and that's one of the key advantages of this BotBlitz model.
Okay.
You control the data, you control the LLM, and you ensure compliance with your own specific regulatory environment.
It gives companies a sense of security and control, I think, in a world that often feels very chaotic and unpredictable.
Absolutely.
And what about the customization aspect? Is that something that would appeal to businesses globally?
Absolutely. One size fits all rarely works in the business world.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like you really need to tailor things to your specific needs.
Exactly. And, those pre-built connectors offered by companies like Microsoft are great for getting up and running quickly.
Sure, for sure.
But they often lack the flexibility to truly address the specific needs of every business.
So you end up having to shoehorn your processes into a predetermined box instead of, tailoring the solution to your unique requirements.
Exactly. And that's a huge limitation.
Right.
With a private LLM, you have the freedom to train it on your specific data sets.
Okay.
Teach it your unique terminology and really mold it to fit the contours of your business.
So it really becomes a part of your business.
It does. It becomes an extension of your existing systems, not just a generic add-on.
So it's not just about keeping up with the latest technology. It's about leveraging that technology in a way that makes sense for your specific business.
Exactly.
That kind of adaptability seems like it would be highly valuable in any market.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's also the issue of scalability, right?
Yeah, that's another key advantage.
Okay.
As your business grows and your needs evolve, you can scale your private LLM along with it.
So it's not a static solution.
You're not locked into anything. You can continuously feed it new data, refine its capabilities, and expand its scope to tackle new challenges.
So it becomes a tool for continuous improvement and innovation, not just a temporary fix.
Exactly.
And all of this seems especially relevant for small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
They might not have the resources for a massive IT overhaul,
Right.
but they can still leverage the power of AI with this approach.
Exactly. It democratizes access to AI, making it more affordable and accessible to a wider range of companies.
And that's huge.
Yeah, it is. And that could have a significant impact on the overall economy, fostering a more diverse and dynamic ecosystem of AI-driven businesses.
It's exciting to see how a solution that was initially developed for a specific market like Brazil could potentially have such a broad global impact.
It really is. It challenges the assumption that all the best ideas come from, the traditional tech hubs.
Silicon Valley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that there are brilliant solutions being developed all over the world, often in response to very specific local challenges.
We've been talking about this Brazilian company, BotBlitz Technologies, and how they're using this really interesting combination of RPA and private LMs to bring AI to businesses that are still reliant on those older legacy systems.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating approach.
It is, and we've seen how this approach could potentially have implications that go way beyond just Brazil.
Absolutely.
It's really got me thinking about the bigger picture here. We're talking about bringing AI to businesses of all sizes, not just the big players with, tons of resources.
Democratizing access to AI.
Exactly, and that could have a significant impact on the way companies operate.
Oh, absolutely.
On their competitiveness, even on entire industries.
It really could, and as this technology becomes more accessible, we're likely to see a surge in AI adoption.
Right, everyone's going to want to get on board.
And that could lead to some really interesting shifts in the business landscape.
It's a little bit like the early days of the internet, where no one could have predicted, what the full extent of its impact would be.
Right.
We're still in the early stages of this AI revolution.
We are. It's an exciting time.
It is. It's exciting to think about where it might lead.
Absolutely. But it's also important to remember that with any powerful technology, there are potential downsides as well.
Right. There's always another side to the coin.
Exactly. And I think a lot of companies are still trying to figure out how to best integrate AI into their operations.
Yeah.
In a way that's responsible and beneficial.
Right. It's not just about, slapping on a shiny new AI tool and expecting everything to magically improve.
Exactly. There's a learning curve involved.
For sure. And it requires, careful planning and execution.
Absolutely.
One of the things I find really interesting about BotBlitz's approach is that it seems to be focused on a very specific type of problem, which is how to bring AI to those companies that might otherwise be left behind in this, this technological shift.
It's a really important point.
Like they've identified this gap in the market.
Right.
And they're building this bridge to connect those who haven't yet made the jump to the latest and greatest tech.
And by focusing on that specific problem, they've been able to develop a solution that seems to be quite effective.
Yeah, it seems to be working for them.
It's not about trying to do everything for everyone.
Right.
It's about solving a particular problem for a particular segment of the market.
That's a valuable lesson, I think, for any business, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Understanding your target audience and tailoring your solution to their specific needs.
Right. Finding your niche.
But it's especially relevant in the world of AI, I think.
Yeah.
Where there's so much hype and so many promises being made.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement and lose sight of what's actually practical and achievable.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the key takeaway for our listener is this AI is no longer just a buzzword. Or something that's only accessible to the tech giants.
Yeah.
It's becoming increasingly available to businesses of all sizes.
Absolutely.
And there are these innovative companies out there like BotBlitz.
Like BotBlitz.
That are finding creative ways to make that happen.
And as this trend continues, it's going to be fascinating to see how different industries and businesses adapt and evolve.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this all goes.
It is the companies that embrace this technology thoughtfully and strategically are likely to be the ones that thrive in this new AI-powered world.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of AI agents.
My pleasure.
It's a topic that we'll certainly be revisiting as this technology continues to develop and reshape the business landscape.